I wore a uniform for this country. I carried a rifle at war for this country 3 times in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I wore my name. I wore a patch. People knew who I was. I wasn't wearing a mask because I was proud to serve, and people should know who I was serving and why I was serving.
Hey everybody, it's Cam from Bulwark. I'm joined today by political expert Jack Cocchiarella and a very special guest.
Thank you so much. We are joined by Congressman Jason Crow, and you just gave what I think is the speech of the moment right now, talking about, I don't even want to call it Donald Trump's creeping authoritarian project. It is the rapidly expanding authoritarian project. And in this moment, certainly the Trump administration wants us to feel like we can't fight back and we can't win, and everything's all but decided. That's not true. You made that clear. Can you speak more to the feeling that we have to have of our ability to fight right now?
Yeah, there's nothing more important right now than calling out what is happening, right? Let's be really clear that this is a well-trodden playbook. Mm-hmm. We have seen this so many times over and over and over again in history. They are using fear and intimidation to crush their opponents, to crush dissent, and it's classic divide and conquer. Yeah. They're hoping to pick people off one by one, and that we won't stand up, unite against this, and push back against it, and they're wrong. Right? We are seeing example after example after example of Americans standing up and saying, this is not America. We will not tolerate it.
I hear a lot of voters, especially around my age, talk about how they don't really see an opposition being put up right now. Mm-hmm. And you end up in this really nuanced conversation. It was the type of conversation you were having about a couple months ago when all eyes were on Schumer, about what can be done right now. Certain standards to which we need to hold politicians, and also certain things that are unrealistic to expect. When you're talking to other Democrats about this, what is kind of everybody's first rallying cry? What's the call to action?
Yeah, but there's a lot of things we can do right now, right? Number one, if you're an elected official, if you're in my role, you can refuse to fund the dismantling of our democracy by this administration. Right? They want to take healthcare away from 13 million people. They want to build a domestic police force that's loyal to Donald Trump. They want to take food away from hungry children. They want to redistribute wealth from the working class and the middle class to the top 1%. All the while, this has become the most corrupt administration in the history of America. And they want to purge the ranks of our Department of Defense and replace it with loyalists. I will not fund that. I will not be a part of it.
The people who are voting to fund it, what's their excuse? What's the argument?
I think there are some folks that believe that there's still a good faith effort by the other side that try to negotiate something and legislate. And
where have they been? Who are they talking to?
Listen, I mean, none of this is normal, right? This is an extraordinary time. None of this is normal. And if the last 9 months hasn't shown with great clarity that this administration does not respect our Constitution, does not respect the rule of law, does not respect Congress, and will roll over Congress in an instant to get what they need. If we haven't seen that with glaring clarity, I don't know what you're seeing.
And we've also seen, of course, a crackdown on any dissent and any speech. Pam Bondi has made it very clear that she doesn't know the law or doesn't care for the law. But I also feel like, not that I want every conversation to be a conversation about democratic messaging, but sometimes it needs to be. We as Democrats feel the need to qualify everything we say. And certainly around the shutdown, this will be the case. The media will want to frame it as, why are Democrats allowing the government to be shut down? How do we communicate, or at least how do you communicate to members of your party, that not every conversation around, let's say, crime needs to start with, well, we really do care about crime and we want to make sure we're tackling this issue and we're worried about our communities, but instead just get to the point and say the truth.
Why are we
unable to do that?
What I say to my team and others is just say the damn thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you actually know, people know what needs to be said. Mm-hmm. Right? So stop acting like a politician, stop thinking about or overanalyzing what's going on, and just say the truth, right? Like I tell my team, whoever you're talking to, talk to them like you're sitting at the bar stool, having a beer, talking to your cousin or your friend that doesn't live this day to day, and just say it. Like, don't act like a politician. Don't act like somebody is trying to dress it up and become a caricature of yourself, right? If there's ever a moment to just be a regular person and a human being and speak the truth, and do so with vigor in boldness and confidence, this is it, right? There's a reason why the approval rating of the Democratic Party is 23%. There's a lot of reasons for it, but one of the reasons for it is people think that we don't have confidence. Yeah. People think that we're timid and we act weak. Well, a great response to that is to be freaking confident and bold in what we do.
And be fucking pissed about things and act like it and say it. Is there something that's just really gotten under your skin? I know all of it, but like what's standing out to you that you're just furious about and kind of just want to like yell at someone or just like yell into the wind? Because I know like we do that day-to-day basis, even though it's like less wind, more camera. But like what is just enraging you about this administration that you'd like to see other people respond with a similar level of emotion?
You know, there is nothing that gets me more angry than a bully. Somebody who is strong or in a position of power that preys on the weak. And what I have seen, the images that viscerally make me angry is when I see masked law enforcement, right? These people wearing masks that with no markings in unmarked vehicles that are getting out and intimidating people, right? Like, I'm sorry, I wore a uniform for this country. I carried a rifle at war for this country 3 times in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I wore my name. I wore a patch. People knew who I was. I wasn't wearing a mask because I was proud to serve, and people should know who I was serving and why I was serving, right? And if you are in federal law enforcement in service to this nation and our community, and you feel like you need to hide your face and identity, then you should be thinking pretty clearly about what you're doing and who you're doing it for and who you're ultimately working for.
You said something that really speaks to a very, very passionate feeling I have right now, which is talking about authenticity, talking to people like they're people. I think there is an epidemic right now in the Democratic Party of manufactured authenticity, where Democrats are seeing how important it is to be active on social media and to make stuff for social media. And they are taking the lesson way too hard and trying to be influencers and content creators. And it is driving me absolutely insane. And there's a difference between being someone like Brian Schatz, who just takes like selfie videos from like the grandma FaceTime angle where he's talking about policy. Like that's one thing. But then just like trying to play the digital game too hard. I think that there's no better way to look inauthentic than to try and show everybody how authentic you really are. When you're communicating online and also just like with your constituents, do you feel any compulsion to perform a certain type of authenticity, or do you think it's easier to just kind of unplug and let loose?
Well, I mean, definitely the latter. I mean, you can't. You just got to be yourself. Right? It's not that hard, actually, right? Just be yourself. I see people all the time, right? I mean, I see people all the time. There are plenty of examples of this. First of all, if you're faking something, people generally know it, right? If you're doing something that's kind of stupid or cringy, people know it, and it just doesn't land, right? There's a lot of the cringe.
I mean, I used to tell people I was straight.
I mean, that's different from like taking some risk, though, right? Yeah. Like we shouldn't be afraid to take risks, right? Like there's this zero defect mentality, play it safe. I think we're in a moment where you have to have some boldness, take some risks, put yourself out there. Some things are going to work and some things aren't. There's nothing wrong with that, so long as you're actually doing it in an authentic way. But there's plenty of politicians and electeds who, throw on the Carhartt jacket that some staffer just bought from Bass Pro Shop.
What's the Glenn Youngkin vest that he always wore? Everyone's got. It's not like Patagonia. Yeah, that's a big. Yeah. The little puffer. Yeah.
The LL Bean vest or whatever it is. So.
What uncomfortable conversation do you wish more Democrats were willing to have with people? Like, is there something you wish more people would just kind of grow up a little bit and say, like, no, we do need to talk about this? My example is always AI child porn. I think that that's something that needs to be discussed a lot across the board, and also the organizations like Meta advocating at a state level to kill any sort of restrictions on that type of stuff. In your head, like if you were to send a message to everybody else in the party, like we need to talk about this more, even though it's hard to talk about, what would you say it is?
I would say government reform, right? Like Democrats in the eyes of working class America, blue collar America, we have become to too many people the party that just defends big government.
Yeah.
Right? Like, listen, it takes 7 years to build a bridge in Colorado, right? I've been in office for almost 7 years, and the airport in Denver has been under construction for most of that time, right? Like, things actually don't work as well as they should, and people know it, right? Their lived experience every day are like, well, that's jacked up. Like, that's not serving people well. That's not working in the way that you would think something should work in 2025, right? Like, so let's have the discussion that a lot of things, even if they were well-intended, right? Some regulations, some bureaucracy that were well-intentioned have gone too far, and it's become paralyzing, and it's costing people too much, and it's impeding progress, and it's making it too hard to build things in America. And it's causing major disruptions to our life.
You could have taken everything you just said and applied it to the Rockies. Yeah. And again, that's an uncomfortable conversation we need to have, is that, your constituents have to be Rockies fans. And that we need to advocate for a future where you could say that proudly.
Right. Well, that's an uncomfortable conversation for Coloradans, although you ask most Coloradans and they'll agree that the problem with the Rockies is you need owners who will actually invest in the team and want to win.
Okay,
and that's
Jack,
going to get me in trouble.
Jack, ask another question, because if you continue to talk about this, I'm going to talk about it.
We get into like a Jokic conversation, but then we've taken it way, and Tim's not here, so we can't do that. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was when you were on Bill Maher where Zohran Mamdani was brought up, and you defended their just kind of like generic, well, there's some problems that I have with this guy, but no one ever specifies what that is. I bring this up because you talk about how the perception of Democrats is nothing's working, we don't work. And I think something so important about Zohran's campaign is he explained how things could work. Yeah. If there was something that you could explain how it works, why it's broken, a lot of the examples of why things are broken is private equity. Like, what is it in government that you want to talk about? If we just did this, things would look a lot better. Because I feel like in an age in which this administration, as we like opened up talking about, wants us to be intimidated, sad, scared, exhausted, the response to that isn't even necessarily like ready to gear up and fight, but it's just like aware and engaged and educated on things. Yeah. Like what would you love to explain to someone that we can fix if we just understood?
Yeah, one of the things that I would like to see is, well, and this is a recent example. This is something that I'm struggling with a constituent right now. Mm-hmm. There are these examples of families that have loved ones who are dying, right? I'm going to speak in generalities. I don't respect people's privacy, but you have a dying loved one and you need an experimental medication to try to save them. And you can't get it, right? Because the FDA has to go through the testing and the approval process. And there's this long bureaucratic process, right? I'm sorry. If you have a dying family member, give them the drug, right? Like let's just expedite this and let people take the chance on something to try to save their life, right? But like, we can't see through that in that instance. And I'm not saying that we bypass all these protections and procedures for everybody else, because that's really important, right? RFK Jr. is running our healthcare system into the ground and getting rid of a lot of guardrails. But there are many examples of experimental drugs and promising treatments that many Americans just can't get because government is getting in the way of it.
That just happened with my grandfather, who passed away from cancer a couple of months ago. There was an experimental drug needed because it was like a rare and aggressive form of cancer. I kind of tapped out of knowing what the result of that was, because I was like, you know what? I'm pre-mourning right now. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty. I would like to add for everybody watching at home that we were not paid by Ezra Klein to have this conversation. Ezra Klein has not been involved with this conversation. I'm going to read the fucking book, and we'll see how that goes.
I haven't read the book yet.
That's a bold statement.
I know. Maybe I'm going to be like
I think maybe
PNG'd from the Democratic Party.
Maybe doing the work.
I'll tell you this. The only thing Mr. Crow has an abundance of at this very moment is losses for his baseball team.
It hurts because it's true.
But listen, any team can beat any team, and we need to hold space for that truth. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be seeing you all soon.